really, right? Like objectively, I cannot do that. So like right now, if you're asking me if I think you're a good person or if you're a monster, the answer is I'm not sure, right? Like I cannot make that judgment, right? In context to me, I would say yes, right? Because you haven't done anything bad toward me, like to harm me, and you haven't behaved in a, like, we have to define the term monster, right? Like you haven't done any of those things toward me. So from my perspective, I can say yes, you're a good person, and yes, you're not a monster, right? But like collectively for the rest of everybody to make like a collective judgment, I cannot, right? I'm not sure. Yeah, so this brings me back to my point, which it's really weird, right? It's like when I go in my, like from my perspective, when I go through life is when people tell me act human, right? But for you guys, I'm like, how do you know how do you know you're a clone, right? Like how does that work? Like do you get the same situation where they tell you act human, or do they tell, like how do, like what brings that out? Like I don't understand. So I need to know how old and then how you found out, right? Like that I want to know, because for me, like I always felt like a fucking reject, right? Because they never looked at me as if I was human, right? Anyhow, first two questions. Next question is, do you age? Right? Because like how does that work? Like according to the, okay, I read the books, right? According to the Bible, there's God, all the other whatever in between, right? The demiurge, all whatever in between there, and then us, right? So according to the story, if I, like, correct me if I'm wrong, right? According to the story, somebody fucking make sense of this, okay? According to the story, the demiurge made our bodies, right? If he made humans to enslave and trap us in dirt bodies, right? Like we are made from earth, right? If that's what makes us human, okay? Like I'm trying to make sense of this. If that's what defines us as human, what are clone bodies made out of? That's my next question. It's like you guys aren't made the same way as us, right? Like I don't know, like right, it's annoying because it's the same situation where it's like, Lisa, what makes angels different from humans, right? Because you can't tell on the outside. It's the same thing here. I'm like, if you look at the outside, I'm like, what makes you different from me? Like I don't see a difference, which is that's annoying me because you can't discern this by looking, right? It's not obvious when you just look at it. So what are you guys' bodies made up of? That's my third question, right? Because then that brings me to my next point, which is if the clone bodies are unstable, because I don't know what material they're made out of, right? Because according to the story, the demiurge made us out of dirt, right? We're made of earth, right? So who made clones, and what are clones made out of? That's my right? Like, so when we go back to my science class now, where they're talking about cloning sheep, they always said there was a few trials before that, right? And the body was unstable. So I'm like, what were they made out of? So after doing a lot of research, okay, to my understanding, you guys, the bodies are unstable when exposed to certain temperatures. So does your body malfunction in heat? Like that's what I want to know. Do you guys feel pain the same way? Like, how do I explain this without sounding stupid? Fuck. Um, I'm trying to think, but I can't. My brain's fried. Okay, if we're talking about body and exposure to heat, Do you sunburn faster than I do? Like, I know clones have to be kept clones have to be kept cold. You guys don't like hot temperatures. At least to my understanding, I'm like, what are the bodies made out of? Okay, then next point. Sorry, you're gonna have to keep pausing in between watching this to answer my questions. Does cloning and cryogenics like coincide beside one another because of the body temperature thing? Like, that's my next train of thought. And then they keep talking about in all of the ancient texts that we're like a consciousness, right? Vibrating at a certain frequency, and we're trapped in these bodies, right? Like the readers call them meat suits, right? Which is disgusting because I don't want to call it that. After all the other shit I saw about the files and shit, I was like, fuck, I don't want to refer it to it that way. How does aging work? Like, let's say I just make a clone body, right? And like, I know the Demiurge fucked up a couple times before he was able to make us like living, right? So I'm like, okay, when you're looking at cloning, I'm like, like, how does the aging thing work? Like, when we're born, right, we start off as kids and then we grow, right, and we get old. But for you guys start off at like perfect. You know what I mean? So I'm like, are you one at the, like, say you're like, you're 30 right now, right? Like, say if I make a copy of you right now and you're in your 30s, does that make the copy 1 years old? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, how does the aging thing work? And then where does the spirit come from? Right? Which then leads me to my next question. I'm like, okay, if it's not cloning, then, right? Let's say we're just making empty bodies, right? For I don't know what fucking purpose or reason, as long as it's not fucked up, right? Let's say we're making multiple bodies to transfer over a consciousness, right? For I don't know what reason, okay? Like, does that hurt? Like, how does that work? Because it's giving like Freaky Friday type shit, right? Where like you're like swapping bodies type shit. And then in my head, I'm like, why would they use, I don't know what type of unstable bodies they're using, but if they have metal and shit, I'm like, why don't they just transfer the consciousness from the fucked up body to like a metal body? Like, I'm like, why don't they do that? There's so many things where I'm like, I'm questioning, I'm like, it's not making sense. I remember asking God a while back. I don't remember when, but I remember asking him this. I'm like, why didn't you just because I told you he'll fix one thing and fuck up 10 other things. I'm like, if you fucked up so many things, why don't you just restart it? Right? I'm like, if you made a fucked up creation, why don't you just fuck it up and then start it again? He never answered me for that, but now I know why, because they had the flood and then all the other shit. So I'm like, okay, I'm like piecing this together slowly. Okay, so running on this theory now that like, if it's not cloning and like consciousness transfer, right, where you're going from one body to the next for whatever fucking reason, right? Like, I don't understand why you would do that. That just sounds so fucking horrible. It sounds like being reborn again without like the extra steps. but like all the side effects, you know what I mean? Okay. When you clone somebody, does it hurt? Like, if you were going to do that to me now, would I feel more pain than the clone will? Does the clone remember all that shit when they wake up? Like, how does that work? According to the theories online, right? You're saying a different body is a different spirit is driving that body, right? So I'm like, it would make sense if all the original people don't recognize the spirit behind the body, right? I'm like, oh my god. So for me, like, that's where I feel a little eerie because I'm like, okay, let's say it's a different person in a known body, but I know that person's not bad or a monster. um, like, it just feels really sad. I talked about this one time before too. I was like, I remember feeling, I have all of this on camera, right? Where I'm talking about, like, I dreamt where I'm in someone else's body and then I have to prove to that person that it's me, right? Before they like, there's so much that can go fucking wrong. Like, oh my god. This is like crazy mad science now. um I didn't clear out my phone, by the way. I don't know if I'm gonna run out of space. Fuck. I'm supposed to do those notes and then clear out my phone and then I'll have all the space to record. So I don't know if I'm gonna get cut off or what in the fuck to do because I have to hurry. No, I don't think anyone's home right now. I have to hurry before they come home. Um okay. So I'm not mad. I just don't understand, right? Like, okay, if the you I know isn't the you that, like, the people of that body know, is really fucked up, right? So then that brings me to my next question. Because to me, it feels like identity fraud. You know what I mean? I read Uncle Jim's Energy too, right? And he always used to say, he's like, I have the privilege of playing a character, right? So I don't know if that's what it feels like to you. Do you feel like you're pretending to be someone else all the time? Like, do you feel that guilt? I'm like, that's kind of fucked up, right? Where it's like, from my understanding, the different person in the body happened before the beauty brand, right? So I'm like, this is technically your credit for this, right? But you're not gonna, like, that just seems so fucked up. Someone else is getting the credit for someone else's work, right? That's what I'm saying. It feels like identity fraud. Sorry, lipstick touch up break. It just feels like someone else is getting the credit, right? It just feels wrong. I don't know, like, to me it's just really sad. It's like, okay, I'm a different person playing the character of Selena, right? But I'm not Selena. You know what I mean? Like, that, I think that's so her friends and family noticed, right? That's really sad. Do you inherit her memories, or like, how does that work when you have a different person in a different body? Like, how does that work? Do you take on, like, do you remember stuff like that? Where does her spirit go? According to the when I was reading it, her spirit and Uncle Jim's spirit are dead, right? And whoever's behind their bodies is so fucked. I don't know. I feel like if I was in someone else's body, I'd never feel comfortable in that skin. You know what I mean? Like, I already don't feel comfortable in my body because this is supposed to be like a what, a dirt prison that the fucking demiurge created. But I'm like, what in the fuck? Ah. Okay, so in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't know at what point in time this happened, but it was before the beauty brand was established, right? So all of this, technically, you can take credit for, right? This isn't, you're using her name, but it's not, right, her doing, which is what is irritating me. I'm like, okay, you've done so much good for the world. Why can't you claim it as your own, like yourself, right? This is what I'm not understanding. Like, okay, why are you in someone else's body? Right? Like there's so many questions. It's like what happened to your body? Why are you in someone else's body? Where does this spirit come from? Um what are handlers? Because that term's come up a good couple of times too. Like I don't know what in the heck's going on. I don't know how the memory thing works either. And my next question is if there's multiple copies, right? Like say because they're your clone bodies are unstable, do they just keep transferring you out of bodies? Because right now, like it's noticeable that you guys, it can't just be fucking plastic surgery. Because in Uncle Jim's case, it's like why the fuck would he get plastic surgery on his face when he needs his face for his job, right? So like of course that was gonna blow up in everyone's face. They're gonna be like, what in the fuck is going on, right? Because we've seen this across everywhere, like with everybody. I'm like, why is everyone collectively getting plastic surgery and doing all this demonic shit? And we'll come back to that. I'm like, what in the fuck? um yeah, so that's my next question. If the body's unstable and you guys have to do certain, I don't understand what humiliation rituals and all that shit is. Like, can you guys not? Like, what in the fuck? If the body's unstable, like, do they have to make copies of the copy and keep transferring like that? Isn't that really fucking painful? Because in your case, like, people are like logically trying to explain this away, right? I'm like, you can't deal with this logically. I'm like, they're not using their discernment and they're so fucking stupid. Right? There are people here, like I can freely talk about this because God already told me. I don't know if it's God talking to me, the demiurge, or whoever's fucking talking to me, right? That comes to visit me so often. He said I can freely talk about anything because no one's gonna believe me. Who's gonna believe me talking about this? They're gonna think I'm crazy, and I don't really fucking care because I'm like, I'm close to dead anyways. What do I care? So when the energy transfer is happening, you guys are performing rituals. That I know for sure. The reason for it, I don't know why, right? Because I know inhuman beings don't do anything for no fucking reason, right? That I know for sure. What the reason is and if it's justified is where, like, we're having this conversation now, right? So every time the, like, okay, say, is it painful? Like, because logically they're explaining it away with, oh, she has lupus, oh, she's like mentally ill, that type of thing. Like, oh, it's plastic surgery. I'm like, you guys stop using the fucking easy answer. Like, nothing's ever black and white, right? Everything's like, there's so much gray area and it's so confusing that I'm like, people just want an easy answer, right? And there isn't one. So in my head, I'm like, okay, let's say this happened once. Can this happen more than once at the same time? Like, for example, we already know Selena and Uncle Jim are dead, right? Like the energy, you guys can't lie to me here. I'm reading it and it's they're not there. I don't know where they went. This is what you guys need to explain to me. I'm like, where did they go? I used to dream about, I said this before too, that I used to dream about bodies in freezers and people eating things. That happened twice, right? I remember bringing up at least 2 times in previous videos, and I'm like, now I can sense it now. So I'm like, what happened here? This isn't the first time it's happening to like, who gets chosen for this shit? Like, what in the hell? Like, in my mind, I'm like, why would they clone Selena? Like, that, like, in my head, I'm like, why? Out of all people, why? Okay, let's say it happened once, right? So we have one transfer, right? She's gone. Someone else is behind her body now. Body's suffering from whatever illness, so they have to put her into another body, right? And the body keeps breaking down. So I don't, in my head, I'm like, does the energy transfer, the consciousness transfer keep happening like this? Or is it happening all at once? Like, let's say she's gone. I don't know if you guys kept doing that to keep, like, the only reason in my head, I'm like, maybe she was ill and you guys kept trying to do that to, like, keep her alive, but she couldn't, and then she died, right? So, like, in that case, I'm like, okay, I don't think you should play God, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, it's not for a bad reason, right? But I don't know if she felt pain doing that constantly, right? So then I'm like, okay, at some point she's dead, right? Then they have to put in they have to transfer another consciousness over into the body, right? Because people aren't ready to hear that she's dead, right? Why the fuck? What's wrong with my throat? If I drink water, my throat's gonna get more dry, so I have a few candies on me left. What was I saying? Fuck, my throat's so fucked. This might take a while. I can't open this. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, would it happen at the same time? So let's say she died, someone else is taking over the body, but we know something's gonna happen, so we have another body backup, right? So you got more than one person playing her character, you know what I mean? Because his words keep echoing in my head. It's like I was playing a character, and we can clearly see that with the new guy, because he's too happy-go-lucky, you know what I mean? Like, the spirit is significantly different. We know that's not him. Right, so that's my next question. It's like, okay, if it's an energy transfer over into bodies, how is it done? What's the reason? Is it painful? How often has this been happening? Like, I don't know, maybe she could be on clone. Like, you guys have numbers, right? Like, I don't know if you're clone 100 and whatever, right? Like, from in my head, I'm like, that is so fucked. It's like you're needed that badly in the world that we have to keep undergoing this process is really sad. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, every time you get transferred to a new body, is it painful? The memory thing, and then like birthdays, like how does that work? Because I'm like, you're starting from a certain point in time. So I'm like, how does that work? I'm like, does celebrating birthdays not make sense there? Oh, the other thing they said too is that clones can't reproduce, which is interesting because they said a lot of celebrities needed surrogates, so that's already a great indicator telling me none of them are human. Okay. That's kind of sad though. But you have a happy ending in the, because I can read your energy because it's technically human, right? And I'm like, but I don't see a sad ending to the story. I'm like, what the hell? I told you my hair hasn't reached that point in time yet, but I can feel it. Everything's a fucking cover, right? Surgery is a cover. Okay. Since we're on the topic of celebs, right? Which direction do I want to go in now? See, from my perspective, I'm like, okay, if it's a different person behind the body, I feel like you should have an identity change. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fair. Her name is getting credit for work you've done, right? But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem fair. It's like with this, for example, her name's all over this, but she didn't work on this. You know what I mean? And this has like a huge impact on a lot of people in the world, and it's not a negative one. You know what I mean? Like, more good came out of it than bad, which is what's confusing. Sorry, you're gonna keep seeing me do that for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm just gonna go with however I feel today. I don't know. I feel like if you put me in a different body, it would feel like having a twin. You know what I mean? You know, like that Spider-Man meme where they're all looking at each other like this? It's like, what in the hell? I feel like it would be scary if it was a bad person, right? We're talking about like good celebrities here, but if we're talking about like, I don't know, like serial killers like being cloned and then that type of energy being spread like a fucking disease, then we can be terrified and start, you know, screaming and panicking and whatever the fuck. But I don't think that would happen, right? Because you would have to get to a point where like you're in that situation. Speaking of which, when I worked at the law office, I did talk to a killer over the phone. Not gonna tell that story now because that's for the next one. But anyhow, yeah, that was an interesting way to start off my year. But anyhow, okay, let's talk about brainwashing. Since we're seeing this prominently in the celebrities, so I also saw the disparity between male and female too. That's by design, isn't it? I was like, what the fuck? I'm suffering because so many people made so many stupid decisions. Like, need to go fucking choke them all out. But anyhow, let's talk about brainwashing. So, because that came up when I read, right? Like in Ariana's situation and Britney's situation, all of them, like, it's reading as something's wrong with their brain. Like, what the hell is going on? And then this is where I'm like, this is wrong because I'm like, why are they being tortured? Like, what did they do wrong? Like, you can clearly tell, like, when you see them, like, I hate watching red carpets and shit, but when you see them, you're like, you know something's wrong. Like, nobody's, like, happy to be there. I don't know if normal people just notice this, but when I watch it, I'm like, these people don't want to be here. Why are they here? To, like, play spectacle? Like, what the fuck? that comes up a lot. Brainwashing comes up a lot, and I know. Which, you know what's really weird? A lot of this stuff is like near me, right? Like when I look back, I told you guys this a lot. Like I've told you guys like several of these things a long time before, right? So I'm like, I've said back when I was in school, older brother was with me all the time, right? And now looking back, I'm like, it makes sense because kidnappings, school shootings, all that shit were prominent, and they're still prominent right now. And all those things that are happening with kids are happening. I remember seeing child eaters happening, like that type of thing was frequent. And then over, my cousin's gone to McGill. McGill's down in Montreal side, right? I think, or Quebec side. I don't know. She was like, they used to praise her because they're like, oh, she's so smart. She went to one of the top schools, but they're doing brainwashing at that school, right? I remember when I didn't pass uni right away, how much fucking bloodline kept ridiculing me for being stupid, right? And I'm like, you fucking trying to lower my energy is God's protection for me, right? Because I'm like, every step of the way, somebody was there to help me. When I look back, same thing too here. When I came here, I'm like, there's so many. When I look at the energy I'm reading, I'm like, the dead led me here, and everything happened. You won't believe me when I tell you back my story of everything that happened in a couple months about how we got here. Like recently, I had a job application with a cruise line, and I'm like, something's not right here. I've been at the law office, something's not right here. I had training to do, and I'm like, something's not right here, because the book they call is The Book Written in Blood. I'll talk about that later in another video because I don't have the energy for that right now. But I'm like, everything, when I look at it, I'm like, what in the fuck? It's like amazing that I was able to get through all that shit. And I've been through every part of the chain, if you want to call it that, right? Like I started from the top, I've been all over the place. Now I'm at the dead bottom where I finally got to, this is my first life. I told you I've never lived this long. So like that's kind of a blessing in itself. Yes, we know kidnapping and child eating and stuff has been happening near to where I used to live, right? Because I wanted to tell, when the concerts were going on, I wanted to tell them, I'm like, you guys have to keep passing by my house before you go to the venue. I'm like, can't we just skip that middle part? Like, it was so annoying. Speaking of which, a lot of people are coming and I can't go see them, and it makes me really sad and depressed. Oh, that brings me to my next point too. I'm like, oh, since you're not Selena and Selena's body, but I'm like, that means I can't shoot your fan cam if I wanted to. Like, would that not work? I still would, but don't want to think about it. It makes